What's going on, guys? The UFC 309 main card for Madison Square Garden going down in November has been announced by Dana White, and I want to give you my reaction to the main card and get in some early predictions for some of these matchups. Getting started on the prelims, I think that I could see this being moved to the main card, but right now it says the prelims. Got Eric Anders versus Chris Weidman. I might be in the minority on this, but I don't give a shit about Chris Weidman. I never want to see this guy fight again. What he did to Bruno Silva, the way he cheated with his fingers out like that, the way he eye poked that man to death, and then in his post-fight press conference, he's like, "Oh, you can't go down like that." Dude, you eye poked his eyes out 5 times. He can't go down to the ground in pain. Like, shut the fuck up. And then he started being like, "Oh, look at my eye." I mean, and then how the media was acting. I think some absolute chump in the media was like, like they're talking about something about like this, paraphrasing, okay, not direct quotes, paraphrasing this guy right here. But he's talking about like, people talking about your eye pokes, but man, your eye looks pretty banged up. Yeah, his eye got banged up from getting punched, not poked. I mean, it's ridiculous. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous. It's embarrassing, and it's just Chris Weidman. That's the most I want to talk about this fight. Fuck Chris Weidman. I absolutely hate this guy. Don't even get me started about what he did after Anderson Silva broke his leg, just running around with American flag. Chris Weidman. I'm not interested in this fight at all. I never want to see this guy fight again. I think he's on steroids too with the new in-house drug system. Moving on to the fight that opens up the main card: Anthony Smith versus Dominic Reyes. I mean, who gives a shit about this fight? I mean, it's a solid main card opener, and it could be fun. I mean, Anthony Smith or Dominic Reyes, he knocks out Dustin Jacoby, so he's back in the win column. Very happy to see that. But I mean, he's getting knocked out by a jab in round 1 against Ryan Spann. Yuri Prochazka destroyed him. Then Jan Blachowicz, that was brutal. And then John Jones, that controversy there. But ever since John Jones, Dominic Reyes has essentially been washed up. Got Anthony Smith, just basically it wasn't like a total domination because Roman Dolidze didn't do much, but he just basically lost every second of that fight against Roman Dolidze. Got a sub against Vito Petrino. Got brutalized by Khalil Roundtree Jr., who's somehow fighting for the title. Split decisions, Ryan Spann. Loser Johnny Walker, thinks that Johnny Walker's coming to fight for his family, but he's like gonna attack. He's thinking that Johnny Walker's gonna attack his family. That was funny. And then gets destroyed by Magomed Ankalaev. These are just, Dominic Reyes is a dead body. Anthony Smith is basically a dead body. He's just been in so many fights. This fight, it's a solid main card opener. But when you look at the other fights on this card, that's when I kind of started to have a problem with it. This just means nothing for the division. It's just 2 veteran, washed-up guys fighting. That's it. If I had to lean one, part of me, I kind of want to go Anthony Smith because I still don't trust Dominic Reyes' chin. Obviously, just because he got a win in the first round, a knockout, does not mean his chin's recovered. So, I think Anthony Smith could knock him out somehow. I'm serious. I think anyone could knock Dominic Reyes out. So, I'm kind of leaning Anthony Smith to win. But, who cares about this fight? This is just, who cares? But moving on to the next one, you got Karine Silva versus, I'm probably going to butcher her name, Vivani Araju. Apologies. But also, who really gives a shit? Why is this on the main card? You can't, as I said, they might add something. I could see another fight being added. I saw rumors about Colby Covington on this card. Listen, until Colby Covington is in that octagon, I'm not believing he's fighting at all. Kind of like the same thing with Conor McGregor. I don't believe those guys are ever going to fight again. Especially Conor. But, it's a decent women's fight. It's just, why is this on the main card of MSG? And when we get to the featured fight, it's going to be even more apparent why this shouldn't be on the main card. So, it's a solid fight, but who cares? It's like the Anthony Smith Dominic Reyes fight. Like, who cares about this fight? Same with Chris Weidman. Who cares? These fights mean nothing. And I don't think they're good. And I don't think this fight's going to be entertaining. I don't think Smith Reyes is going to be entertaining. There could be a knockout, I guess, but still, is what it is. But moving on to the featured fight, and I think this might be the worst fight on the main card, to be honest. Bo Nickel versus Paul Craig. What is this doing as a featured fight? what has Bo Nickel done to be on the feet, not only open up UFC 300, but be on the featured fight of a John Jones card at Madison Square Garden in New York City? What has he done for this? Like, I'm not gonna, go too much into this, but like, obviously Dagestani privilege is a huge theme, narrative, and stuff like that with like stuff. I've never seen a Dagestani get this type of privilege like Bo Nickel. I've never seen this in my life before. I mean, I've never. I mean, this is something else right here. Against Paul Craig. Listen, they're trying to give him an easy guy who's probably ranked number 20 in the division, in the middleweight division, and then they can go give him the easiest ranked matchup and get Bo Nickel with a number next to his name. That's what they're doing here. They're babying him because Bo Nickel's the guy, he calls out Hamzat. He calls out, Whitaker and all these guys. And he's never going to fight him because he sucks. I mean, I know, like, he's undefeated, but, I mean, look who's fighting. What? He just beat Cody Brundage, sorry. Beat Val Woodburn. Jamie Pickett, who he hit in the fucking nuts. He hit him in the crotch to get him down there, so... That one's not very good. But none of these wins are good. I mean, Cody Brundage was like throwing his ass to the ground. It was embarrassing. His wrestling wasn't that effective. I know he got the sub, but I mean, if Bo Nickel fights like that against any actual good competition, he's probably fucked. And this sounds crazy, and I think Paul Craig is basically like a dead body. I mean, let's see. Look at Paul Craig. Got KO'd by Caro Baralio. Might just pronounce his first name around there. I mean, that's not a bad loss. Baralio just beat the shit out of Jared Cannonier. But he got KO'd by him. He got subbed by Brendan Allen. He beat Andre Muniz. He beat Andre Muniz. Okay win. Got KO'd by Johnny Walker. Got destroyed by Volkan Oezdemir. But then before that, he has like a sub win over Nikita Krylov, a sub win over Jamal Hill. Like, dude's actually kind of on a roll here. I mean, it's actually crazy. I mean, way early at a sub win over Magomed Ankalaev. It's crazy that he has these, like, wins over these, like, pretty damn good competition, even though Paul Craig has never been actually that good. But he's obviously at time, I think he was a solid guy, actual worthy top 10 light heavyweight, but not anymore. Now he's down at middleweight. I mean, could he fraud check Bo Nickel? I mean, could he catch Bo Nickel in one of those crazy subs that he got Magomed, Jamal, Nikita Krylov? Like, could he do that? It would be hilarious. Dana White would be fucking pissed. Even more mad than Sean O'Malley losing his belt at UFC Noche. But I don't see it happening. I'm not even high on Bo Nickel. I see Bo Nickel winning. I think Paul Craig's a dead body. I think he's only regressing. But Bo Nickel, I do think can get slightly better because he is, kind of young, I guess. Isn't he like, but he's like, let me confirm this, guys, for you. Hold on. How old is Bo Nickel? All right, hold on one second. Let's see. Bo Nickel age. I actually want to see this because, like, I feel like he's 28 years old. He's not, I mean, he's in his prime. I mean, Bo Nickel's in his prime right now. I mean, obviously, he has time to get a little better, but 28 years old, you're in your prime, man. That's your prime right there. You're in 28 to 34, 35. That's your prime. Like, so I'm sure you can get a little better, but I don't think Bo Nickel's getting that much better. So I could see Paul Craig fraud checking him. I really actually could. I mean, imagine Bo Nickel can't get takedowns or he walks into submission. God, his striking ain't good. I could see Paul Craig beating him up on the feet even though Paul Craig's striking's not good. But I'm going to go Bo Nickel. This is a setup fight for him. I'll go Bo Nickel by decision, but I think he's going to win this fight. We're going to be like, all right, he won 28-27 and kind of, barely kind of got a nice win against Paul Craig. This guy ain't good. That's what's going to happen. Or I could see Paul Craig fraud checking him. I'll go Bo Nickel by decision. Kind of decently competitive, close decision. Moving on to the only good fight on this entire card, in my opinion, in the co-main event, Charles do Bronx Oliveira versus Michael Chandler. And first, we got to address the elephant in the room about Michael Chandler. Michael Chandler's finally back. And, obviously, I have not covered this too much on the channel. A lot of the news with the McGregor-Chandler stuff was kind of coming out before I started my channel. But I guess I'll give you guys a little about my thoughts. I have never believed that the Chandler-McGregor fight was going to happen. I've never believed it. Chandler has continued to sell wolf tickets to fans over the years. He has wasted his career for 2 years. He has absolutely embarrassed himself with how he's acted, how he's groveled to another grown man like Conor McGregor. And it's been a complete embarrassment. And Michael Chandler, it does not matter if he knocks out Oliveira and then knocks out Islam. His legacy will be that he is the man who brown-nosed Conor McGregor and didn't get the fight and wasted 2 years off his career. Because Michael Chandler's probably like 37, 38 now. That's old for lightweight. That's old for lightweight. I mean, Oliveira, I believe, is like 34, probably almost 35, and he's not exactly young for lightweight, but he's still kind of in that prime. He's on the decline. Maybe in another year or two, he's been on the decline. But Chandler's at the age where he's on the decline, and he got nothing out of it. And, he believed in the fallacy of the red panty night. And Chandler really thought that a win over washed-up, coked-out Conor McGregor would propel him to a different level of stardom. When I think if he knocked out McGregor easy, I think everyone would be like, well, cool. It's like, I mean, is Conor McGregor even UFC caliber anymore? I mean, that's the question right there. Barely. Maybe he's top 30 fighter division caliber. He ain't top 15. So it's like, so no, it's good to have Chandler back, but it's also just every time I see him, I remind of how stupid this guy is and how dumb he is, and just how, I don't want to say so many fans, because all the fans now think he's a clown. But for the first year and a half, even, a lot of these guys defended Chandler, and people who said that the fight was never going to happen got shat on for it. They were that kind of the minority. Now it's become the majority, but I've been a guy who has believed that this fight was never going to happen for a long time. Basically, I don't want to say right when it got announced, but when the date, when we didn't get a date and the Ultimate Fighter was literally releasing in like a couple weeks and we didn't have a date, that's when I was kind of like, hold up. I don't think this is going to happen. So when it got announced, I was like, okay, I think this will happen. Couple weeks later, 2 months later, I was like, yeah, no, this ain't going to happen. Like, this fight should already have a date announced on it. Like, this is not how the UFC operates. So, but it's good that Michael Chandler back. But back to the fight at hand, because he is back, and I'm happy he's back because he's very entertaining. Keep in mind, I've watched some of Chandler's video, basically all of Chandler's videos on the McGregor stuff. I will not dare disrespect Chandler by feeling bad for him. He deserves to have his career ruined. He deserves to be looked at as a bum. He deserves to be looked at as a man who grovels to the feet to a cokehead like Conor McGregor. He deserves all that, because don't you dare feel bad for him, because you're disrespecting him if you feel bad for him. Those are his words, not mine. Those are his words. So, but back to the fight. We have versus a man, Charles Oliveira, who Chandler is fighting. Charles Oliveira, he is my favorite UFC fighter. I just absolutely love him. He really helped me get even more hardcore into the sport. He's an unbelievable fighter. And this is a banger co-main event. It's 5 rounds. It's a rematch of one of my favorite fights ever when Oliveira got the belt. Chandler almost finished him there, but they got clipped at the beginning of the second round. This is an amazing fight. But I'm picking Charles Oliveira to start Michael Chandler. And the reason is because of this. And now someone's going to be like, oh, you just said Oliveira's your all-time favorite fighter. Like, now this is a super biased take. It's not. If Charles Oliveira's fighting Islam Makhachev, I'd pick Islam to KO him in the 3rd round. It's not. Even though I'd really want Charles to beat Islam. I want Charles to get his revenge against Islam more than anyone on this planet probably. But as I told you guys, I give it to you how I see it, not what I want to happen. Michael Chandler's on the decline. He has not fought for 2 years. Ring rust is a true thing, especially when you're on the decline, which Chandler is. Just by how old he is fighting at lightweight, he is on the decline. And also, I think the main thing that will help Charles Oliveira in this fight is because 2 things. One, he needs a win. Now, he's only on 1 fight losing streak against Arman, that was a very competitive fight. A lot of people thought it was a robbery, which is just... Arman won that fight, guys. I'm the biggest Charles Oliveira fan out there. Arman won that fight. Like, that's just the truth. But it was a very competitive fight that Arman just clearly won. Competitive fight that Arman won. Not a bad loss. Arman is elite in every facet of MMA. But Charles Oliveira against Michael Chandler. I think one of the main things that Michael Chandler possesses is just how he comes out and just is launching everything at you. It's hard to train for. It's hard to get used to it. I'm thinking about Alex Pereira, Yuri Prochazka. When you looked at Alex Pereira versus Yuri in their first fight, Yuri Prochazka was tagging Alex Pereira a bit. He was giving him issues because he's so goofy, so unorthodox. I think Alex Pereira was in there, as the way better striker, as the technical guy. I think he was in there like, holy cow, like this guy's hard to train for. But then you saw in the second fight, he was used to it and he knew exactly what he needed to do. I think this fight, and I know Chandler, it's not that Chandler's unorthodox necessarily like Yuri, but the way he approaches the fight, the way he just throws everything at you is very unique, and it's hard to train for, it's hard to get used to. But the fact that Oliveira has been in the octagon with Chandler already, I think he's going to be used to Chandler's pressure. He's going to be used to what Chandler's going to, is going to show him in the fight. And I think Oliveira is just literally better everywhere. I see Oliveira in the second round. I think it's going to be a second round KO again. I see him putting him out cold, ending him with ground and pound, or I just see him hurting him and submitting him. I'm going to pick Charles Oliveira. He's going to hurt Michael Chandler with a big right hand. He's going to counter Chandler coming in because he's going to be used to that Chandler pressure after the first fight. He's going to hurt him badly. He's going to choke him out. We're going rear naked choke. He gets Chandler's back, rear naked chokes him in the second round, puts him to sleep. And guess what? Michael Chandler, now since you've lost again, your last win was a UFC 269? No, UFC 271 against the dead body of Tony Ferguson. Conor McGregor's going to want to fight you even more now. So good for Chandler right there. But Charles Oliveira is going to make Chandler could win this fight, and if he does, he'll be fighting for the title, which talk about undeserved title shot. But I guess the UFC kind of owes him, but I don't know. Hey, Chandler deserves all the shit he gets. However, I won't dare disrespect him by feeling bad for him. But Oliveira, I think, is going to make Chandler look surprisingly easy in this fight, and Oliveira's going to be back in the win column looking for, another title fight. But he'll probably need maybe one more win potentially. But we move on to the main event. And I don't really want to spend too much time on this main event because every fan who's, unless you've been under a rock, knows this fight was going to happen at MSG. It was supposed to happen, at 295. This fight just... Who cares? I'm going to be hyped for it when it's around the corner because it is John Jones. It is, I think he said it's his last fight. I think that's a negotiation tactic. I think he would fight Tom Aspinall if the UFC pays him enough. He would fight Tom Aspinall. If that does not happen, Tom Aspinall versus him will never happen. My prediction, John Jones versus Tom Aspinall will never happen. But if the UFC goes to John Jones, hey, we'll pay you, some proper money to fight Tom Aspinall, I do think John Jones will do it. So I do think Jones is telling the truth in a way, but he's also singing to the UFC like, hey, you give me the right amount of money, I will fight Tom Aspinall. But this fight, Stipe, in his last fight 2 years ago, he's been fought 2 years, he got folded. He got absolutely smoked by Francis Ngannou. He got destroyed. And then you look at his last win against Daniel Cormier, who most fans only know as the commentator. They know Daniel Cormier fought, but they've only seen him in the commentary booth. It's just embarrassing that this guy's getting a title shot. Talk about another undeserved title shot, guys. And I think John Jones is going to make pretty easy work of Stipe. And I feel like he finds a submission or something. I don't know how John Jones necessarily gets it done. I don't think it goes to decision. I do think John Jones finds a way. I could see John Jones hurting him. I'll go John Jones TKO. I could see John Jones really hurting him and just putting him out with some ground and pound shots or shots up against the fence, kind of making him fold. I could see John Jones getting a TKO in the third round. That's my early prediction right now. When the fight's coming up, though, much more film will be watched. It will be more fresh in my mind, so... keep in mind, guys, there's early predictions. The Oliveira pick I'm going to stay with. The Jones-Stipe pick, I'm picking Jones no matter what, but the method, I'm still going to do a little more research on that. But I see John Jones making this somewhat easy. It is heavyweight, so Stipe could, get a knockout, I guess. I just don't see it happening. Jones ain't going to let that happen. I think John Jones is still super elite. I think John Jones, I love Tom Aspinall. I think John Jones would probably beat Tom Aspinall if they fought. But that fight would be so much better than this, though. Oh, my God. So much better than this. That would be one of my most anticipated fights ever. But yeah, though, Jones versus Stipe. Jones is made to win this fight. It's like Marlon Vera versus Sean O'Malley. It's just made for a Jones win. And it's really unfortunate that the UFC is doing this because no one wants this fight. And it's just really sad and depressing to think about. But overall, the UFC 309 card, outside the co-main event, this card stinks, guys. Bo Nickel, who cares about that fight versus Paul Craig? Karina Silva versus Viviana Araujo. Who cares about that fight? Anthony Smith versus Dominic Reyes. 2 dead bodies. Who cares? Eric Anders versus the cheater Chris Weidman. Cut Chris Weidman for what he did in his last fight. Who cares? John Jones versus Stipe. I care a little bit because it's John Jones. So I care a little bit. But this isn't the fight we should be getting. So it's a failure. This fight sucks. It pisses me off that we're getting this fight. Imagine this was Jones versus Tom Aspinall with the co-main Oliveira Chandler. That's one of the best main and co-main events I've ever seen. Oh, it's an amazing co-main and main event. But no, we're getting old man Stipe. And I get why the UFC's doing it. They're trying to protect Tom Aspinall, trying to protect the heavyweight division, because if Jones beats Tom Aspinall and then retires, his shadow will loom over the heavyweight division for years to come. And think about it, the top two heavyweights at that point are Ciryl Gane and Tom Aspinall. And they both got, let's say they both get smoked by Jones, or Ciryl Gane did. But let's say Tom Aspinall gets smoked by Jones, it just loses. John, the next heavyweight champ is just going to be looked as a pawn. As John Jones says, you're a pawn in this game. That's what the next heavyweight champ would be if Jones crushed or just beat Tom Aspinall and then walked off into the sunset. So I get why the UFC isn't doing it, but this is not the fight we should be getting, though. At the end of the day, you got to give us the right fights, and that fight just isn't. So Oliveira Chandler, 10 out of 10, amazing fight. The rest of this card is, main event's okay. I'm saying okay because it's John Jones, so I'll be a little excited. But overall, it's a stain on the sport. The main event of this card is a stain on the sport. And the rest of these fights, I don't give a shit about. And I know something might be added, but as it stands right now, this fight, who cares? Who cares about all these fights? Besides the co-main event and a tiny bit of the main event, just because Jones is fighting, so it's somewhat interesting. Who cares about the rest of this card, guys? Who cares? So that's my thoughts on UFC 309. I think it's a very disappointing card, but I cannot wait for that co-main event, though. I'm super excited for that. But let me know what you think about this card. Make sure to comment your thoughts below. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. I'll see you guys in the next one.